It wasn't just a slap. It was a sentence passed without a trial. The slap came out of nowhere, loud, sharp, and mean. It echoed across the restaurant like a gunshot in a quiet church. Madame Hannah barely had time to react. The tray of jollof rice and chicken in her hands flew into the air, crashing to the floor in a mess of food, porcelain, and shame. Her body jerked backward from the force, but she didn't fall. At 65, she knew how to stay standing, even when life kept trying to knock her down. Her right hand flew to her cheek. The sting was immediate, hot, and humiliating. Her eyes filled, not just from pain, but from the hundreds of eyes now locked on her, frozen mid-bite, mid-conversation, mid-life. Agnes, tall, neat, and wearing high heels that clicked like threats, sneered. "Get out of my way," she snapped, voice tight with contempt. "You slow old woman. If you can't keep up, leave. Your laziness is better suited somewhere else." It wasn't the first insult, but this one came with the weight of skin. Madame Hannah didn't speak. She couldn't. The words had lodged in her throat along with the memories of all the names people had called her over the years. Witch, bad luck, trouble. Never once did they ask her story. If they had, they would have known about the 2 daughters she buried on the same day, about the road accident that stole her entire world while they were on their way to visit her. They would have known how she never quite lived again after that. But people never ask about the grief of the poor, only their mistakes. The silence in the restaurant held, thick as fog. Then, like a scene from a different life, the glass door swung open. A tall man stepped in, dressed in a navy suit, followed by a younger assistant. His presence shifted the air. Benjamin Raymond, CEO of Raymond Holdings, one of the biggest names in Lagos business circles. Rich, powerful, unbothered. Until now. He stopped mid-step. He had seen the slap. He didn't move. Not yet. His eyes flicked from Agnes to Madame Hannah, studying everything. Her trembling lip, the broken tray, the red mark blooming across her cheek like a bruise of injustice. Then he stepped forward. "Madam," he said calmly, voice steady, but hard as iron. "Why did you hit her?" Agnes folded her arms, unbothered. "Because I run this place. She's too slow. Customers are waiting. If she wants pity, she shouldn't be working." The room shifted uncomfortably. A man near the counter mumbled, "That's too much." Another added, "She's old, but she's fast. I've seen her." But no one dared stand. Agnes scoffed. "And who are you all to judge? If any of you are feeling generous, take her home." Benjamin's jaw tightened. He turned to Madame Hannah. "Ma, are you hurt? Do you want to sit down?" She blinked. The world around her felt like a dream. But something in his voice tugged at something deep inside her. A voice she had once known. A boy's voice. A boy she used to watch run through hallways barefoot, laughing as if the world couldn't touch him. His eyes, she remembered those eyes. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Those eyes. I once watched those eyes learn to swim." The restaurant hushed again. Benjamin leaned in. "What did you say?" Her breath caught. "Benjamin." His assistant looked up sharply. Even Agnes looked confused. "You know him?" she asked, unsure. Benjamin stared at her now, really stared, and the years melted off his face. "Madame Hannah," he said, "is it really you?" And just like that, the years split open like a cracked dam. She saw the pool again, the little boy flailing in the water, her own body diving in before anyone else, his mother crying with relief, his father, Chief Raymond, laughing through tears. "Hannah, you saved my only son." She nodded, hand still on her cheek. "It's me." Gasps spread across the room. Phones appeared in people's hands, ready to film, not knowing if it was history or gossip. Benjamin's entire posture changed. His face hardened as he turned to Agnes. "You hit the woman who raised me," he said. His voice was quiet, but the fury underneath made it feel thunderous. Agnes blinked. Her confidence slipped. "So what? Are you going to buy her a trophy for being slow?" He didn't answer her. He turned to his assistant. "Chuka." "Yes, sir." "Wait by the door. No one touches her." "Yes, sir." Then he crouched gently in front of Madame Hannah, not the billionaire now, but a boy who had once been held in her arms. "You're not staying here another second," he said softly. "You're coming with me." Her lips trembled. I can't just leave." "You can," he said. "You will." Agnes barked a laugh, a sharp, joyless sound. "Take her if you want. People said she's a witch. I still gave her work." But pity has limits. That word, which, it echoed inside Madame Hannah like the crack of another slap. She remembered it too well. After her daughters died, people whispered it behind her back. A curse, they said. A mother who survives her children must be cursed. Benjamin stood slowly. He faced Agnes full on. How much is her salary? 100,000 naira, Agnes said tightly. She also broke 2 plates last week. They slipped, a waiter said quietly. The trays bent. Benjamin ignored the tension. He pulled out his wallet and placed a card on the counter. Send your account details to that email. You'll get 3 months' salary. Consider this notice. She's leaving now. Agnes opened her mouth, then closed it. Money, it seemed, dulled her tongue. Fine, she snapped. Take your old nanny. But don't bring drama back to my business. Benjamin turned back to Madame Hannah. Ma, do you have a bag? She nodded, voice small. In the back. Please get it, he said. I'll walk you to the car. She stood slowly, as if her legs were remembering how to move with dignity. As she passed the staff and customers, heads turned. Some lowered their eyes in shame. One woman whispered, God bless you, Ma. In the staff room, she took off the uniform she had worn with pride, folded it neatly. Underneath, she wore a simple blouse, faded but clean. She caught her reflection in the mirror. Not a witch, not a problem, just a woman, bruised but not broken. When she returned, Benjamin was waiting with his arm outstretched. She took it, and as they stepped into the sunshine, it felt, for the first time in years, like the world was giving her back a little piece of herself. Then, just as they reached the car, a voice cut through the air like a blade. Wait. They turned. Agnes stood in the doorway again, this time holding a sheet of paper, a smile on her lips. But it didn't reach her eyes. And that's when everything changed again. Sometimes, betrayal doesn't come from strangers. It comes wrapped in the same hands that once fed you. Just when she thought it was over, the humiliation, the sting, the eyes, it began again. Agnes stood at the restaurant entrance like a spider that wasn't done spinning its web. The wind caught the paper in her hand, flapping it like a warning flag. Her voice was thin, but it carried. Before you go, she called, you should know something. Madame Hannah stiffened. Her fingers clutched the strap of her faded handbag. Beside her, Benjamin turned slowly. What is it? He asked, jaw set. Agnes stepped forward, holding up the paper. This is a police report, filed this morning, about a missing envelope from the till. It disappeared during her shift. She tilted her head, eyes gleaming. Guess whose hand the CCTV caught? The silence was louder than before. Whispers crept through the air like smoke. Even Chuka looked stunned. A waiter gasped. Someone in the back muttered, No, not her. Madame Hannah didn't move, but the blood drained from her face. The bag she was holding slipped down her arm. Benjamin took one step forward. His voice was calm. Dangerous. Are you accusing her of theft? I'm not accusing, Agnes said, voice sugary and sharp. I'm proving. The police are on their way. Should be here any minute. And as if the city had been waiting for her cue, the distant wail of sirens rose in the background. Faint, then clearer, then unmistakably close. Madame Hannah closed her eyes. It wasn't fear she felt. It was something colder, older, a pain so familiar it had become part of her bones. She had been called a witch, a curse, a burden, but now a thief? Benjamin turned to her, gently touching her hand. Ma, he said, low and steady. Tell me the truth. She looked up at him. No tears, just pride and pain wrapped together. I didn't take anything, she said. I swear on my daughter's graves. The sirens blared louder, turning into red and blue lights that painted the restaurant walls like a crime scene. A crowd had gathered. Phones were out. Faces watched like spectators at a public trial. 2 police officers stepped out of the car. One was older, his eyes tired but kind. The other was young, clipboard in hand, already writing. Who filed the complaint? The older one asked. Agnes walked toward them quickly. That would be me, the owner. We have CCTV footage. Money vanished during her shift. The younger officer looked at Madame Hannah. Ma, is this true? Benjamin stepped in front of her before she could speak. You talk to me, he said. She's under my protection. The officers paused. Recognition flickered in the older one's eyes. He'd seen Benjamin Raymond before. On billboards. In boardrooms. On TV. We're only following procedure, he said. Benjamin nodded. Then follow it properly. Where's the footage? Agnes handed over her phone. The video played. A blurry image. A hunched figure moving near the till. A hand reaching for something. There, Agnes pointed. That's her. Benjamin watched in silence. Then replayed it. Slower. His eyes narrowed. This is your proof, he asked. It's grainy. Blurred. That could be anyone. It's her, Agnes snapped. She's the only one that's short and bent. Benjamin didn't take his eyes off the screen. Or you just needed someone to blame. Agnes folded her arms. I need to protect my business. No, Benjamin said sharply. You needed to protect your pride. So you chose the weakest person here and threw her under the bus. The officers looked at each other. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Even the waiters, once silent, began to murmur. Benjamin turned to the police. If you must investigate, fine. Do it. But she's not going with you today. I'll make sure you get every answer you need, every naira owed. But right now, she's coming with me. The older officer nodded slowly. We'll mark it as pending investigation. But we may call her in for questioning tomorrow. You'll have my full cooperation, Benjamin replied. Behind him, Madame Hannah's voice cracked like dry leaves. I swear, she said again, louder this time. I didn't take anything. Benjamin turned and faced her fully. I believe you, Ma. The officers stepped away. The tension in the air began to thin, not gone, but bleeding out. Agnes stood stiff, realizing the tide had turned. The customers were no longer on her side. One by one, voices rose. She's wicked. Imagine slapping someone's mother like that. God sees everything. Benjamin walked Madame Hannah to the car again. Her steps were slower now, not from age, but from shame. She kept looking back, afraid that somehow, Agnes would call her again, drag her back into the dark. But when the car door closed, it was like the world shut the door on her past too. Inside the vehicle, everything was quiet. The city flew past in flashes of color and noise. But inside, it was just the sound of breathing and broken thoughts. Benjamin finally spoke. You used to hum a song to help me sleep. Do you remember? Her eyes softened. You still remember that? I never forgot. She looked out the window. Her voice was small. You were a good boy. Your mother, she loved you so much. His face darkened. They died 4 years ago. Plane crash. I took over everything after that. I'm so sorry, she said, placing her hand gently on his arm. For a moment, he wasn't a CEO. He wasn't rich or powerful. He was just a boy again, lost and found. When they reached the Raymond estate, the gates opened slowly. The same palms, the same fountain, and yet everything felt different. She stepped out, overwhelmed by memory. I can't stay here, she said softly. It's too much. You can, Benjamin said. You took care of me when I had nothing. Let me do the same. Inside, the staff looked on in awe as their employer led an elderly woman into the heart of the mansion. He turned to a maid. Prepare a guest room, the one that faces the garden. Yes, sir. As she sat down, Benjamin asked, Would you like tea? She smiled. You remember? 3 cubes of sugar. You called it sweet comfort. She laughed softly. Your memory is sharp. That night, she lay awake in a bed that was softer than anything she'd known in years. But her thoughts were heavy. The slap still burned. The accusations still echoed. And the way Benjamin had lifted her out of that place, it felt too good to be real. She whispered a prayer for his parents, and another for her daughters. When she finally closed her eyes, it was to a quiet she hadn't known in decades. But peace, as she would soon learn, is often the quiet before another storm. Peace came like a whisper and left like a warning. For 3 days, the mansion felt like a gentle dream. Madame Hannah awoke each morning to the sound of birds, the smell of jasmine, and the soft clink of teacups. No shouting, no heavy trays, no eyes watching her like a burden. Just peace, a kind she had almost forgotten existed. Benjamin greeted her each day with the same warm words. Good morning, Mama. It never failed to make her heart flutter. He had kept his promise. The lies about her, erased. The accusation of theft, gone. His legal team sent warnings to blogs spreading the false claim. His media contacts put out a formal statement. By the second day, hashtags that once mocked her were replaced by new ones. Hashtag Justice for Mama Hannah. Hashtag Grace is Power. But peace is a fragile thing. And some people can't stand the sound of silence when they've been exposed. On the 4th morning, just as Hannah was sipping her tea, Chuka, Benjamin's assistant, entered the dining room with a tablet in his hand and dread in his eyes. "Sir," he said, voice tight, "you need to see this." Benjamin took the tablet, already bracing himself. On the screen was Agnes, standing outside her restaurant, her tone syrupy and sharp. "She worked for me. She stole from me. And now she's being protected by power and money. But I have proof. Ask yourself, why would someone defend a thief unless they're hiding something too?" At the bottom of the screen, CEO covers for elderly thief. Restaurant owner speaks out. The video was already viral. Thousands of views. Dozens of angry comments. Screenshots flying through social media like wildfire. Hannah froze. Her fingers trembled. "Oh God," she whispered. "Not again." Benjamin stood up slowly. He didn't shout. He didn't curse. But his silence had weight. "She just made the biggest mistake of her life," he said. Then, to Chuka, "Get the car." The drive to the restaurant was silent. Heavy. Crowds had already gathered by the time they arrived. "Phone's up." Whispers thick in the air. "There she is," someone said as Hannah stepped out beside Benjamin. Chuka pushed through the onlookers to clear a path. Benjamin moved like a man walking into court, calm, but ready for battle. Inside, Agnes was already waiting. Behind the counter, chin raised, smile tight. "Well, look who's back," she said, voice too sweet to be sincere. "Did your PR team fail to kill the truth?" "You're trending," Benjamin said flatly. "But not for the reasons you think." Agnes shrugged. "I posted facts. She stole. The footage proves it." He didn't flinch. "Does it?" He nodded once to Chuka. Chuka stepped forward and placed the tablet on the counter. A new version of the footage played, enhanced overnight by Benjamin's tech team. Sharpened, cleaned up, the shadowy figure moved near the till. A hand reached into the drawer. But this time, you could see it clearly. The hand wore red nail polish. Madame Hannah's hands, visible in the edge of the frame, were bare, wrinkled, unpainted. A collective gasp spread through the restaurant. Benjamin turned the screen toward Agnes. "You wear red polish, don't you?" She instinctively pulled her hands behind her back. But it was too late. Crimson tips, unmistakable. This isn't what it looks like," she stammered. "Then explain it," Benjamin said, stepping closer. "Because right now, it looks like you framed an elderly woman who once saved my life." Agnes' voice cracked. "I was just moving the envelope. I meant to put it in the drawer." "For 2 days," he cut in. She flinched, and the crowd turned. "She lied," someone whispered. A waiter near the counter spoke up. "Sir, she's lying. Mama Hannah never took anything. She was kind. She gave me her lunch once when I hadn't eaten all day." Benjamin turned back to Agnes, voice low and final. "You owe her a public apology." Agnes' shoulders stiffened. "Never. Then I'll make sure every investor, every partner, every property owner that leases space to you sees this video. You'll never run another business in this city." That hit her like a slap of her own making. Her pride collapsed. Her hands shook. She turned to Hannah, eyes wide and full of panic. I'm sorry. Please, forgive me." Madame Hannah blinked, stunned. Her voice came soft. "Forgiveness doesn't erase pain, but it frees the heart that gives it." She took a breath. "I forgive you." The restaurant went silent. Then, one clap, another, and then applause filled the space, not for Benjamin, not even for the scandal, but for Grace. For the woman who could still choose mercy after everything. Back in the car, Hannah stared out the window, eyes distant. Benjamin glanced over. "It's over." She shook her head gently. "No, my son. It's only over when the storm ends." He didn't ask what she meant. But that night, as the sun sank behind the clouds and the streets of Lagos darkened, the mansion lights glowed warm and calm. Until the maid came running down the stairs, her voice shaking. "Sir, it's about that woman. Agnes." Benjamin turned slowly. "What about her?" "They found her car by the bridge." Silence. The engine was running. Doors open. But she's gone. Hannah's breath caught in her throat. A familiar coldness crept up her spine. Benjamin's eyes narrowed. "Get the driver," he said. "Now." And just like that, the night turned from calm to something else entirely. Not revenge. Not justice. Something darker. Not all who disappear are lost. Some are silenced. The bridge loomed like a question no one wanted to answer. By the time Benjamin's SUV pulled up, the sun had dipped behind the clouds, and the sky hung low with the weight of an unfinished storm. Police cars lined the edge of the road, their red and blue lights flashing lazily, painting the pavement in guilt and confusion. Agnes's car sat by the rail, silver, silent, abandoned. The engine was still warm. Driver's door open. A smear of mud near the tires. No one inside. Madame Hannah gripped the edge of her seat. She hadn't spoken since the maid brought the news. Her silence was not fear, it was recognition. Of something darker. Older. A pattern she'd seen too many times. She was proud, Benjamin said, staring at the car. Not the kind to run. This doesn't make sense. He stepped out, Olivia behind him, her arms folded tightly across her chest. An officer, tall, lean, tired-looking, approached. Mr. Raymond? Yes. I'm Inspector Bello. We found her car about 2 hours ago. CCTV footage confirms she parked it here around 4:20 a.m. Got out. Alone. And after that, he sighed. Nothing. No more movement on the camera. It's like she vanished. Benjamin looked past him, toward the water. The current moved slowly but carried the kind of silence that hinted at secrets. Have you searched downstream? We've deployed divers. Nothing yet. No phone. No bag. No footprints either. The rain erased everything. Madame Hannah finally stepped out of the car. She moved slowly, her eyes fixed on the river. Something isn't right, she said. Bello looked at her gently. Ma'am, I know this is upsetting, but I've seen this before, she interrupted. A woman falls, and the world blinks. No one asks who pushed. Olivia stepped closer to Benjamin. You think someone made her disappear? I don't know, he said. But I know Agnes. She was cruel, yes, but she wouldn't go quiet. Not unless someone forced her. Back at the mansion, the mood was heavier than the weather. Olivia sat beside Madame Hannah in the living room, holding her hand. Hannah's eyes were distant. She accused me, she whispered. Humiliated me. But now I feel sorry for her. Benjamin stood by the window. He hadn't sat down since they returned. Someone wanted her out of the way. Chuka entered quietly. Sir, this came to the gate this morning. No name. Just this. He handed Benjamin a brown envelope. Inside was a photograph, blurry but clear enough. Agnes, standing outside the restaurant, facing a man in a gray hoodie. The man's face was turned just enough to avoid the camera, but on his forearm, beneath the sleeve, was a tattoo. A serpent wrapped around a dagger. Benjamin's jaw tightened. He handed it to Chuka. Zoom in. Chuka scanned it with his phone, enlarged the tattoo. Olivia leaned closer. That symbol. I've seen it before, Benjamin said. My father once filed a security report against a former employee. A driver. He stole millions from the company, then vanished. Hannah blinked slowly. I remember him. His name was Kola. Benjamin nodded. That's him. He used to follow me around the estate when I was small. My father said he had a temper. And now he's back, Olivia whispered. Not just back, Benjamin said. Connected to Agnes. They sat in silence for a while. The photograph rested on the table like a threat. By morning, Benjamin was already at the police station. Inspector Bello introduced him to the lead detective on the missing person case, Inspector Ada, a woman with silver braids and sharp eyes. We traced the fingerprint from Agnes's car, she said. It matches a known alias. He goes by Kola, former driver. Embezzlement case. Disappeared 15 years ago. Benjamin didn't even blink. He's blackmailing people now. Ada nodded. Our guess? Agnes was laundering money through her business. Fake salaries. Kola found out. Threatened to expose her if she didn't pay. And now she's missing. She didn't have enough to shut him up, Ada said. So he made her vanish. Maybe permanently. Benjamin's fingers curled into fists. He's not just a thief. He's a predator. Be careful, Mr. Raymond, Ada said, voice calm but firm. If he came back for Agnes, he might have unfinished business with your family. That night, thunder returned. Not loud, just enough to rattle the windows. Benjamin stood in the hallway, staring at the family portrait of his parents. He hadn't looked at it in years. Not closely. His mother's smile. His father's confident hand resting on his shoulder. A life before chaos. Then a soft voice from upstairs. Benjamin? Madame Hannah. She stood at the top of the stairs in her shawl, face pale. I had a dream, she said, coming down slowly. Agnes was standing by the river, crying. And behind her, a man with no face. Olivia appeared beside her. Mama, you've barely slept. It wasn't a dream, Hannah said. It was a warning. Benjamin reached for her arm, guided her back to bed. But the image clung to him. A man with no face. At 2:47 a.m., his phone buzzed. Unknown number. Message. Stop digging, or she won't be the last. Benjamin stared at the screen, then typed, "Who are you?" 3 dots appeared. Then a reply. "Someone your father should have killed." The number vanished. Benjamin didn't sleep. At 3:18 a.m., a thud echoed from downstairs. He moved like a shadow. Silent. Fast. Reached for the drawer in his father's study. Pulled out the pistol. Slipped down the stairs. The back door was open. Rain dripping from the handle. He stepped outside. The garden was wet. Empty. Then, just beyond the gate, lightning flashed. And a figure stood there. Tall. Hooded. Still. Benjamin raised the gun. "Cola." The figure didn't flinch. "You've grown," the man said. "Just like your father." "Where is Agnes?" "You're too late." "What did you do to her?" "The river knows," Cola said. "And it doesn't forget." "You're going to prison," Benjamin growled. Cola stepped forward. "You think prison scares me?" His voice cracked. "I gave your father everything. Loyalty. Blood. And he discarded me like trash. I swore I'd destroy what he built." He lunged. The gun twisted between their hands. Rain poured. They slipped, slammed into the grass. A shot rang out. Cola froze. Stumbled back. Blood spreading from his stomach. He fell. Madame Hannah's scream tore through the night. "Benjamin." Moments later, she was running toward him in the rain. Olivia, just behind. "What have you done?" she cried. Benjamin stood shaking, the gun still in his hand. "He tried to kill me." Olivia checked the body. "He's dead." Hannah fell to her knees, tears streaming. "Revenge always leaves 2 graves," she whispered. "One for the guilty, one for the soul who carries it." Benjamin looked at her, drenched and trembling. "I didn't want this." "I know," she said, "but you must carry it." The police arrived minutes later. Inspector Otta took control. After reviewing the footage, it was ruled self-defense. Agnes's body was found downstream 3 days later. The city wept, but the mansion went silent. Benjamin stopped eating, stopped going to meetings. He sat for hours in his father's study, staring at the garden where it ended. One evening, Hannah entered, placed a tray beside him. "You gave me peace, my son," she said gently. "But now you must forgive yourself." He looked up. "How do you forgive yourself after taking a life? You remember why you did it." And slowly, he began to heal. The days were quieter now. But peace, real peace, would take time. Some lives end in silence. Others echo in the hearts they healed. The days turned slow again. After the storm, the mansion quieted, not with fear this time, but with a strange kind of reverence. As if the walls themselves understood what had been lost and what had been found. Benjamin had returned to his company, but he moved differently now, not with the hunger of a CEO, but with the weight of someone who had seen the edge. His steps were thoughtful, his voice quieter. He no longer chased every opportunity, only the ones that mattered. Madame Hannah became the soul of the house. She taught the kitchen staff her old recipes, showed the younger maids how to fold napkins with grace. She told folk tales in the garden at dusk, her voice slow, rich, filled with memories and lessons no book could teach. Every evening, Benjamin would sit under the almond tree with her and Olivia. Sometimes they didn't speak. They just watched the sunset paint the sky in orange and gold. It was during one of those evenings that Benjamin dropped to one knee. Olivia gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. "Ben," she whispered. He looked up at her, eyes soft but certain. "You stood beside me through chaos, through scandal, through silence, and not once did you walk away." He pulled out a small velvet box. Inside, a simple ring, gold, elegant, sincere. "I don't have the right words," he said. "Only the truth. I'm not the man I was. I'm better now. Because of you. Because of her. Will you marry me?" Olivia nodded, tears running freely. "Yes. 1,000 times, yes." From the veranda, Madame Hannah clapped slowly, a smile spreading across her face. "Finally," she whispered, eyes misty. "My boy has found his peace." The wedding was quiet. No press, no paparazzi, just friends, staff, and the woman who had once saved Benjamin from drowning, twice. Hannah walked him down the aisle. She wore a cream and gold wrapper, her lace scarf shimmering in the sunlight. Her steps were slow, but proud. With every footstep, the crowd rose to their feet. She passed Olivia's hand into Benjamin's and whispered, "Protect her like your father protected your mother. Love her like your mother loved you." During the vows, Benjamin's voice broke. "Mama Hannah," he said, turning to her, "you taught me what love looks like when it costs something. This marriage, this life, it began with your kindness." The reception was held in the garden. Laughter, dancing, music, but above all, joy. Pure, quiet joy. And for a while, it seemed nothing could go wrong again. Until the silence returned, but this time, from within. Weeks passed, then months. Benjamin and Olivia began trying for a child. First came hope, then uncertainty, then tests, then questions. One afternoon, after yet another doctor's visit, Olivia sat at Madame Hannah's bedside, her eyes red. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "We keep trying, but nothing's happening. Maybe God doesn't want us to have children." Hannah took her hand, voice calm. "Don't ever say that, child. When God delays, he's usually writing a sweeter story." She knelt slowly beside her bed, her knees cracking but firm. "Come, let's pray." Benjamin joined them. The three of them knelt, past, present, and the dream of a future, hands entwined. Hannah's voice filled the room. "Lord, I lost my daughters. Took years to breathe again. But you gave me this son, this daughter. Let their arms not remain empty. Let laughter fill this house. Let this womb carry joy where pain once lived." 3 months later, Olivia stood in the bathroom, trembling. 2 lines. Tears poured before words could. That evening, Madame Hannah danced barefoot in the garden. The staff clapped. The guard smiled. Benjamin lifted his wife into the air and shouted to the sky. 9 months later, under soft hospital lights, a baby boy was born. Benjamin held him, hands shaking. He looked at Hannah, who stood by the bedside, tears flowing. "His name," he said, voice thick with emotion, "will be Raymond, after my father, and for the light he brought back to our lives." Hannah touched the child's cheek. "He has your eyes," she whispered, "and your mother's kindness." Olivia sobbed. "Mama, bless him." Hannah placed her hands gently on his head. "May you grow strong and wise. May your heart always choose mercy. May your steps never forget grace." They returned home to a house that now felt whole. In the years that followed, Raymond Holdings grew larger, but not colder. Benjamin used his power differently now. Built schools, sponsored widows, funded shelters, all in Hannah's name. Mama Hannah's Kitchen opened in the heart of Lagos, a restaurant where no elderly woman was ever made to feel small again. And every evening, beneath the almond tree, Hannah sat with little Raymond on her lap, telling him stories of lions who learned to love and kings who ruled with gentleness. 10 years passed. One golden evening, Olivia stepped into the garden and found Benjamin and Hannah sitting on the old bench. Raymond, now 10, ran up to them, holding a wooden plane. "Grandma Hannah, look, I made it fly." She laughed. "My little pilot, you'll fly higher than all of us." Benjamin smiled. "He has your patience." She patted his hand. "And your courage." The wind picked up softly. The sun dipped lower. Hannah leaned back. "It's peaceful tonight," she whispered, almost like heaven's watching. Benjamin turned to her. "Mama, are you okay?" She smiled. "Yes, my son, just tired." Her voice faded like a lullaby. And then, silence. Her hand slipped from his. "Mama." He reached for her. "Mama." Olivia came running. "Benjamin." He touched her neck. No pulse. Just peace. Her face was calm, lips slightly parted, as if she had just told one last story to the world and drifted into sleep. They buried her beneath the almond tree, the same place where she had once forgiven a slap, restored a man, and saved a family. At the funeral, Benjamin stood before a small crowd. His voice broke as he spoke. "She taught me that kindness is stronger than power. That dignity isn't given, it's lived. And that forgiveness can heal wounds deeper than any blade." As the final handful of soil fell onto her grave, a warm breeze swept the garden, carrying the scent of jasmine, and a lullaby no one had heard in years. Benjamin looked to the sky. "Rest now, Mama. You've brought us home." And above the mansion, the clouds parted just enough for the last light to fall. Not loud, not grand, just enough. Like her,